I took this team that centers around Whimsicott and Hisuian Typhlosion from Regulation H that was promoted by James Beck and put it into Regulation MA in Pokemon Champions. As you can see, 5 out of the 6 mons are available currently in Champions, so it's quite easy to adjust according to the regulation. Replacing Ursaluna Blood Moon is none other than Mega Floette as a special nuke. If you don't have Mega Floette, Mega Gardevoir can fill in the slot as well. The main concept is simple. Whimsicott maintains weather control with Manual Sunny Day, speed control with Tailwind, then disrupts with Encore, while Typhlosion dishes out stab eruptions, heat waves, as well as coverage with Shadow Ball. The rest of the members round off the team through typing, utility, and just all-around all-stars. Alright, so first we have Hisuian Typhlosion. We run a standard Eruption, Shadow Ball, and Heat Wave set to deal maximum damage. I also run Focus Blast over Overheat, because Focus Blast can deal with Tyranitar and Incineroar, which can threaten Typhlosion. I use Focus Blast over Overheat because this team is less reliant on setting the weather up, because only Whimsicott is be able to set the weather. And for this ability, we use Frisk for closed team sheets, and Blaze for open team sheets. The EV spreads are also pretty standard. We run a max special attack, max speed, with modest nature. Next we have Whimsicott. Whimsicott runs a standard support set, with Moonblast for its damaging option, Encore to lock opponents in, Sunny Day to boost Typhlosion's damage, and to change the weather away from rain, sand, and even snow. We also use Tailwind for speed control. The EV spread is like that. I've taken it directly from James Beck's video. So far it has been proving quite well to deal significant damage with Moonblast, while also have good enough bulk through its HP EV investment. Its ability is of course Prankster to outspeed other Prankster mons, or even Aerodactyl to set up Tailwind faster. Next we have Mousehold, which kind of serves as a double purpose here. Its main purpose is to redirect moves away from our supporting Pokemon, may it be Typhlosion or even Mega Floette. We use Follow Me for that, and we also use Taunt here to disrupt opponents that are trying to use Trick Room. Then we also have Protect to protect Mousehold and its Mind Game with Follow Me. And lastly, I use Population Bomb over Super Fang. This is because I also run a max attack investment instead of max HP investment, so that it can deal significant damage to Pokemons like Melodic and Charizard Y. I also use the item King's Rock, as you will see later, for its chance to flinch as well. The ability that I use is Friend Guard over Technician, even though there's Population Bomb over there, because again, its main purpose here is for supporting and protection, and the Population Bomb damage and flinching is just an added bonus. Next we have King Gambit. So King Gambit typically runs a max attack, max HP EV spread, but here I run max special defense as an experiment, and so far it has been proven quite well. So you can try the spread, but you can also run the standard max HP, max attack set as well. And its moveset is also pretty standard with Kowtow Cleave, Sucker Punch, Iron Head, and Protect. 3 damaging moves and a Protect along with Sucker Punch, and its ability is Defiant to ensure that it gets a +1 buff instead of a -1 when intimidated. King Gambit is also pretty good, especially with this EV spread, to deal with Floettes, as they typically only run Fairy type moves. Next we have Paldean Tauros. Paldean Tauros is also a good offensive Pokemon. We run Raging Bull to break screens and also as a good water type damaging move. I run Raging Bull over Wave Crash because Wave Crash's recoil tend to make Paldean Tauros even frailer than it already is. Then we have Close Combat and Protect and Aqua Jet as priority. And of course its ability is Intimidate to lower opponents' attack stat. Lastly, we have the second star of the show, Mega Floette. I run a standard Protect, Calm Mind, Dazzling Gleam, and Moonblast set because of its Fairy Aura ability. Potentially, Calm Mind, you can use it when you think opponents are in the defense. You can set up with a Calm Mind and boost up your Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast to deal damage even further. I run a standard fast special attack and speed set with Modest Nature. This is to ensure maximum output and also for it to have enough speed to outspeed a lot of the bulkier Pokemons that are on the field. You can try Light of Ruin instead of Calm Mind, just like Wolfie said, and maybe even run a Timid set. But personally, I haven't tried it, so this is what I'm going to run with for now. So, for a free-to-play option, you can run Mega Gardevoir instead of Mega Floette. It is effectively a less stronger, at least in terms of stats, compared to Mega Floette. But what Mega Gardevoir has over Mega Floette is its Psychic Stab. Yes, Mega Floette can learn Psychic and it can run that, but it wouldn't utilize its Fairy Aura properly. Gardevoir can use Psychic Stab to deal with Sneasler and even Venusaurs, which are... well, Sneasler is already pretty common, but Venusaur seems to be rising up the ranks in terms of usage as well, so that's going to be useful. And it can also learn Aura Sphere. So as long as Gardevoir is able to withstand a Kingambit Sucker Punch, it can retaliate back with a quadruple effective Aura Sphere, provided the Chople Berry has already been consumed in Kingambit's side. So this is a good alternative. You need to adjust your playstyle a little bit, but this is definitely a it's definitely a good replacement to Mega Floette. Here's the replica team. As you can see, Typhlosion runs Choice Scarf, Whimsicott runs Focus Sash to make sure that it withstand hits. Yes, it can fall to Aerodactyl's dual Wing Beat. That's where Tauros Intimidate hopefully can mitigate the damage dealt by Aerodactyl. Mosshold runs King's Rock for its chance to flinch with Population Bomb. Tauros runs White Herb to ensure that its attacking stats are returned to its normal levels when it gets intimidated, or its defenses gets returned to normal once it uses Close Combat. Kingambit runs Black Glasses to boost its Kowtow Cleave and Sucker Punch damage, but you can easily replace Black Glasses with Chople Berry if you think that you're going to run into a lot of fighting types against Kingambit. And lastly, Floette, of course, would hold the Floette type to Mega Evolve to Mega Floette. So as of right now, I don't have good footage from Pokemon Champions on my Switch, but I also have been playing Pokemon Showdown using this team as well, and I would like to showcase my team along with my thought process in this best of 3. So I sent Tauros and Kingambit, and they sent Scizor with Meowstic. Before that, in the team preview, I can see that Typhlosion can deal reasonably well against this team. The things that Typhlosion needs to watch out for is Pelipper and Mega Feraligatr. As you can see here, they would pretty much disrupt Typhlosion's game plan, but the rest of the team seems to be pretty decent for Typhlosion to deal with. So that's why I put Typhlosion in the back, just in case they lead with Pelipper and Feraligatr or something like that. But here instead they lead with Meowstic and Scizor. I lead with Tauros and Kingambit with the hopes of them leading with Sneasler and Scizor or something familiar. But, or something similar, sorry. But rather they lead with Meowstic, which I assume is supportive, as you can see with its Fake Out and Thunder Wave, along with Scizor. So here, I think Scizor needs to be dealt with immediately, so that it doesn't set up. Which is why I clicked Close Combat and Kowtow Cleave into the Scizor slot. Meowstic uses Thunder Wave on Tauros, and Scizor uses Hyper Voice, which already means that, yep, it's a Hisuian Zoroark. Luckily, through this double up, I was able to bring Hisuian Zoroark to its Sash, and overall it's a pretty good trade. Next, they use Protect, and I use Aqua Jet, and the Meowstic retaliates back with Psychic, which is okay from their part. But luckily enough for me, Kingambit is able to land its Kowtow Cleave on Meowstic, one-hit KOing it. I was surprised it wasn't bulkier than it already is, because with this, they lose their fake out support and speed control in the form of Thunder Wave, which I am okay with because King Gambit himself is able to use Sucker Punch on Zoroark. So then I send out Typhlosion with the hopes that they send out their Scizor, but as you can see here, they instead send out their Feraligatr, which is not good for me. So right here, easily my options, since Feraligatr doesn't really threaten to one-shot King Gambit, I'm able to safely Sucker Punch, and I'm able to switch Typhlosion back to Whimsicott. Right there, they Mega Evolve. Sucker Punch lands on Hisuian Zoroark. And then they use Liquidation with the hopes of one-hitting my Typhlosion. And then now they send their Scizor out, which is their last 2 Pokemon. So now, as long as Feraligatr is taken care of, I think that Typhlosion should be able to close out the game in the late game. They use Protect. Scizor uses Bullet Punch, which is a shame. Perhaps I could switch to Typhlosion, but I don't want to risk getting hit by a Liquidation, so I just had to let it go. And I should have Kowtow Cleaved the Scizor, but the opponent smartly protects because they know that Feraligatr is now their win condition. So because Whimsicott gets knocked out, I just have to send a Typhlosion here. Now from here, I think that this is not a good spot for me. I can try an Eruption or Heat Wave, but this Feraligatr will threaten a strong Liquidation that can kill Typhlosion. But instead they run Protect here, which I am confused. They run a double Protect here. Maybe they were afraid that Typhlosion and King Gambit double up is able to kill the Feraligatr. So luckily enough for me, I'm able to sweep up the game through a Sucker Punch from King Gambit and Eruption from Typhlosion to take the game 1. So that last play by my opponent, I'm not really understanding why. But that's that. I take game 1. Alright, so for the second game, I also use the same leads, which is King Gambit and Tauros, while they lead with Meowstic and Feraligatr. Perhaps they thought that because they led Scizor in the first game, I'm going to lead Typhlosion in the second game, but I think that this lead is already working pretty well during the first game, which is why I kept that lead as well. So Tauros is able to intimidate Feraligatr and Meowstic, but for the first turn in a Creative Psychic, you protect on Tauros while Meowstic apparently uses Tickle. Feraligatr sets up a Dragon Dance, and King Gambit is able to use Kowtow Cleave and deal more than 50% to Feraligatr. So at this point, it's a pretty good opening, but right now, I think that Meowstic could probably use Thunder Wave to my incoming Pokemon that I switch into, which is why I decided to not switch Tauros and instead focus on offense to deal with Feraligatr and Meowstic. So as you can see here, Tauros gets paralyzed with Thunder Wave, while Feraligatr deals good damage with Liquidation, and Tauros uses Close Combat to keep the knockout on Feraligatr. White Herb restores its stats, and King Gambit uses Kowtow Cleave to one-shot the Meowstic. So at this point it's a 4 versus 2, and my Pokemon's health is still pretty decent, I guess. But, I guess spoilers, I lost this match because the Pokemon that they bring is able to disrupt the rest of my team. So even in a 2v4, if you're positioned well and your opponent's doesn't bring the correct set of mons just to deal with your stuff, you can still lose. Alright, so let's see what they send out. They send out Sneasler, and they send out Pelipper. So Sneasler, because Tauros is already on the field, I cannot get the Intimidate just yet. I have to do some switch rounds, but Pelipper can also threaten offensively with its Weather Ball, with its Hurricane. So at this point, I'm actually quite in a pinch, because again, the damage output that they can provide through Sneasler's Dire Claw that can hit my Fairy types in the back, because I think I brought Whimsicott and Floette in the back. as well as close combat to deal with King Gambit, is already pretty significant. Alright, so let's play this. I switch Pelion Tauros with Whimsicott and use King Gambit. They use close combat on my King Gambit, and Pelipper is able to use Hurricane on my Whimsicott, bringing it to Sash. And also gets Confusion. Alright, so at this point, I'm no longer in a good position. I try to cycle Intimidate, bring out Tauros, lowers the Sneasler's attack, but White Herb. Whimsicott, yeah. Whimsicott hits itself in its Confusion, and Sneasler is able to land good damage using close combat to my Tauros. Even though it has its defenses drops, still at full health, so it's going to be difficult to take down, and Pelipper is able to use Weather Ball and KO my Tauros. So right now, I think it's pretty much checkmate, because the next Pokemon that I send out are Floette and King Gambit. So I pretty much am out of position right here. I Mega Evolve Floette, use Protect first, just get out their moves. Sneasler uses Dark Claw, and Pelipper is able to outspeed King Gambit and take the KO, and as a result, Sneasler just has to use Dire Claw to KO Floette. So pretty good Floette, and they got the sleep as they added bonus, and a Weather Ball would KO Floette, and they were able to take the game. 2v4. Alright, so I had to make adjustments towards game 3. Alright, so at this point I think they will most likely not bring Scizor because it didn't work well for them in game 1, and they didn't bring Scizor in game 2, so Typhlosion's value is diminished, but Typhlosion once again can still deal good damage to the rest of the team, barring Pelipper and Feraligatr, which is why for the adjustment for this round, I decided to bring Whimsicott, Typhlosion, and lead with them, as well as bringing Tauros and Floette in the back, because Tauros can once again provide good Intimidate support. I led with Tauros last time, but now I bring Tauros in the back to take hits and provide Intimidate support. Alright, so first I send out Whimsicott and Hisuian Typhlosion, they send out Feraligatr and Pelipper. So yes, at a first glance it looks bad, but the fact that they already sent Pelipper out means Whimsicott can easily change the weather to sunny day. I have that advantage. So, I take Typhlosion out, and I send out Tauros. And then they take Pelipper out to ensure that they have weather control, and they bring Meowstic instead, which is good against Tauros. They use Protect on Feraligatr, which I am not sure why. They perhaps are trying to scout my moves. But this kind of, or maybe they're afraid of getting damaged by Tauros during the switch in. But because Feraligatr uses Protect, I have the advantage with Whimsicott that I can Encore them onto Protect. Alright, so Whimsicott uses Sunny Day over here to change the weather. I cycle back in, bringing Typhlosion back because I have the guaranteed Encore on Feraligatr's Protect. And Meowstic can only perhaps Thunder Wave, the Tauros, or even just use Psychic, which Typhlosion can deal reasonably well, so I can be able still deal damage with Heat Wave or Eruption if they decide to target Whimsicott instead. So which is why I am able to bring Typhlosion in here safely. They switch out the Feraligatr for Sneasler, which makes sense because they're going to be Encore lock. And as you can see, I use Encore and it fails. And Meowstic uses Thunder Wave on Typhlosion. Well, this at a first glance may suck, because it halves my Typhlosion speed. Typhlosion is already pretty fast because it's holding Choice Scarf, and I can still provide Tailwind support with Whimsicott. This is something that perhaps they don't realize. They think that, oh, Typhlosion is going to get outsped by Sneasler and Meowstic. And because Typhlosion is part Ghost type, it is immune to Fake Out. So at this point, there's no reason for me to not go for Eruption right here. Eruption and Tailwind damage. Because Paralysis is nerfed as well, so that you can hit 7/8 of the time rather than 3/4, I think, right? I am overall in a good position over here. So perhaps they should have switched out to Pelipper, but they didn't, and they're able to, or not able, they take the full grunt force of Typhlosion's eruption. And Meowstic uses Psychic on Whimsicott to break the sash. They send out Feraligatr, interestingly enough, instead of Pelipper right here. Perhaps they're trying to set up or maybe liquidate on the Typhlosion or force me to switch. But at this point, Typhlosion kind of already did its job, because the rest of the team is Feraligatr, Pelipper, and Meowstic, right? And Meowstic's already at low health. So I have Mega Floette in the back, and they can deal... Sorry, and yeah, Floette can deal with the rest of the team right here. So at this point, Typhlosion's kind of relatively dead weight, which is why, as you can see later on, I just let Typhlosion stick around. So they think that because this Typhlosion is just stuck using Eruption, it's going to be dead weight on my team. But as you can see later, Typhlosion's just raw damage output, even through Rain, even through all that, it's still pretty good. So, Tauros uses Intimidate Feraligatr. They switch out Meowstic and bring in Pelipper, bring in the Rain. Feraligatr uses Protect. That'll my next move, I guess. And it deals 23% on Pelipper, which is not bad considering it's raining. So now, I'm not sure why Feraligatr uses Protect again right here. Maybe it's to stall out my Tailwind turns. Tauros can easily use his Close Combat on the Feraligatr slot, since I guess it can be the most threatening thing on the team. But that wasn't my mindset, because I have Mega Floette into that. Maybe they think that, oh, only Typhlosion is able to deal the damage on the Feraligatr. Right? So I use Close Combat on Feraligatr, lowers Tauros' speed. Defenses. Typhlosion uses Eruption, deals good damage on Feraligatr. They don't Mega for some reason. Pelipper sets up Tailwind of their own. So right now, Pelipper can easily threaten a Hurricane, but at this point it's fine, because I can easily bring Whimsicott, bring Mega Floette onto the field and sweep the rest of the team. Tauros uses Close Combat, as it's still faster than Pelipper and Feraligatr. Tailwind is still up. Typhlosion uses Eruption again. And as you can see here, Pelipper restores his health using Citrus Berry. As you can see, Pelipper just Hurricanes the Tauros, because again, it thinks that because it's under rain, right, Typhlosion is dead weight. But as you can see, even in the previous turns, right, it already deals good damage, and its health is untouched. Deals good damage with Eruption. So now, they only have Pelipper and Meowstic left, with low health. So at this point, I could have played it more aggressively, but I played more defensively, which in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have done that. I should have just rid of Dazzling Gleam, Pelipper, and Meowstic, along with Eruption from Typhlosion. Now they knock out the Typhlosion, and then I send out my Whimsicott, so Meowstic is able to paralyze my Floette. That is fine. I Encore Pelipper into Weather Ball because I do not want Hurricane Confusion, just like last game, to just deal with Floette, so I'd rather get hit by a Weather Ball instead of a Hurricane at this point. And I know that Floette can able to tank the hit. And Meowstic, sure, it can use Psychic, but at this point, Floette's just that bulky, and it can just deal with the rest. So there it is, Weather Ball into Whimsicott. Whimsicott faints, and Floette is able to Dazzling Gleam and take the double KO. Alright, so in hindsight, at least in this game, I didn't need to protect when the Floette came out. But overall, that's how you play the team, and those are my thoughts when I pilot the team. That is all I have for now. Let me know what you think of the team down below. Like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more content like this. Go to bounds!